This week in wrestling history, 20 years ago this week on March 20th, 1994, WrestleMania X in Madison Square Garden, Jerry the King Lawler made a surprise return to the announce booth with Vince McMahon after being gone for about 4 months. He was fighting rape charges made by an underage girl, which were later dropped. We had the classic match between Bret and Owen Hart, who opened the show. Probably still to this day the best opening match in WrestleMania history. One of the best matches, period, in WrestleMania history. Originally, Bruce Hart was supposed to be in the Owen Hart spot, feuding with Bret, but Bret wanted Owen, and more specifically, did not want Bruce. I think that was Pat Patterson's choice, and so Bret got that vetoed. Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon had their classic ladder match on this show, the one that set the standard by which all other ladder matches are measured, largely because it was the first one most people ever saw. Shawn Michaels had been the Intercontinental Champion. He was reportedly suspended for a steroid failure, so the title was vacant. Razor Ramon won it in a battle royal. They brought Shawn back a few months later. He still had the old belt, and so that's why both belts were suspended above the ring for this match. Macho Man Randy Savage made his final WrestleMania appearance, beating Crush in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Alundra Blaze beat Leilani Kai, the only person in WrestleMania history to have competed on the first WrestleMania show and the 10th one. Matt Bourne did wrestle on the first WrestleMania card, but by this point I think it was Ray Apollo under the Doink mask for the mixed tag with Doink and Dink against Bam Bam and Luna, so he doesn't count. We had Lex Luger and Yokozuna in the first of two championship matches at WrestleMania. This was the first and only time they ever did this. Bret and Luger co-won the 1994 Royal Rumble. They had a coin toss on TV to determine who would get the first title shot. And so Luger won the coin toss. And that meant that Luger would have the first shot against Yokozuna. Bret would have to face his brother earlier in the night, which he did, and he lost. And the Luger-Yoko match ended with a controversial decision. Mr. Perfect disqualified Lex Luger. Mr. Perfect was the surprise guest referee that came out that night. So he screwed over Luger, and then in the main event, Bret Hart won the championship from Yokozuna with Roddy Piper as the guest referee, and that ushered in that whole new generation era that really Bret, I guess Bret and Shawn, but more so Bret was the face of that new generation era for the company, and that this is where it all started in '94. I just remember being very upset when Hulk Hogan didn't come out as the special referee for the main event, and instead it was Roddy Piper. Hogan had been on every single Mania card up until this point. He wasn't doing anything. I think he was filming Thunder in Paradise. He had not joined WCW yet. This was a few months before that. So I thought for sure he was going to be the referee, and much to my chagrin at that time, he wasn't. No Undertaker on this show. The first WrestleMania that he missed. He was taking some time off. And there was supposed to be a 10-man tag, but it got bumped to Raw 2 weeks later because the ladder match went long. I talked about this in my Sound Off extra review of the Bob Holly book, which is up right now on our YouTube channel. Holly was supposed to be in that match, and he tells the story of how Randy Savage went ballistic on Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon when they came back through the curtain backstage. They had that awesome match, and people were probably complimenting them on it and everything. But he went off on them for being selfish and taking money out of other people's pockets by ignoring their time cues. This is one of the better WrestleMania shows they've ever done. I can't call it the best, but if you made a top 5 list, I could see WrestleMania X being on that list, maybe at number 4 or 5. It was a good show. I went to the Fan Fest. It was the first time they had a Fan Fest event in conjunction with WrestleMania. Now they call it Fan Access. So I went to the Fan Fest. I didn't go to WrestleMania itself. That's where those pictures come from on my Facebook page. If you look in the Secret Files album, if there's pictures of me with Vince McMahon, Shawn Michaels, and a few other people. They had a Dunk Doink tank there where you can dunk them in water. I don't know who was playing Doink. Bushwhackers were there. They were licking people. Fun times. But really depressing to look at this card and realize that 9 of the people on this show are dead. Owen, Savage, Crush, Bam Bam, Luna, Mabel, Earthquake, Kurt Hennig, and Yokozuna, all gone. Only one of them was over the age of 50 when they died. Think about that.